Previously.
Jelly Evolution Simulator video. Who's gonna win? The inchworms, the reformed inchworms that aren't really reformed, or the big bulky underdogs? Let's find out in Generation 32. Nyhukim takes back the top spot. Boly Tip's growth has slowed dramatically. Okay, so that means that Tanubin's era was only one generation, Generation 31. And Nyhukim took it back, but it's really, really close. Really, the real winners of this generation are all the really tiny species that we still don't know yet because they're all clustered at the top. There's just more diversity than ever before. I would really like Boly Tip to just snatch at least one generation in the top spot. Oh, it's still pretty top heavy. Like, you know, a species will stop growing when it's no longer having a top heavy distribution, but Boly Tip was very top heavy in Generation 28. Any piece of momentum at this point could turn around. So let's do a generation and find out. There's 3 top dogs. Who's going to be next at the top? It's Boly Tip by a lot this time. Okay, that's actually crazy. And Tanubin and Nyhukim are both under 100 and both tied. I would have never expected that in a million years. Like, the amount that Boly Tip is leading by is huge. It's 145 to 96. So look at the double ring, celebrate it, because remember Nyhukim had the top spot. They were the ones that everyone thought was like a shoe-in for victory. Boly Tip in 3rd. No one suspects the bronze medalists to ever have a good future. But then as time goes on, you can see they both kind of had modest growth. Remember, Boly Tip had 28 when Nyhukim had 29, so they were very close and close, except Nyhukim was more top heavy. And then, you know, in the late single digits and the early teens, Nyhukim just had explosive growth and no one could compete. Boly Tip maxed out at 81 in Generation 8. Like, this was the most that anyone thought they would ever have. And then over the next 10 generations, it was just Nyhukim dominance. Like, no one could even hold a fire to their juggernaut of a performance. And at the depths of despair, Boly Tip was in the single digits, just 9 specimen. Like, look at this. Boly Tip is right here, and everyone around you is Nyhukim. They all look the same, but Boly Tip's right there. Boly Tip's also right here. They're also right here, and here, and here, but it's like few and far in between. They basically have no political power. They're going to be plucked off by the dominant force, right? No. Those 9 did not give up. They knew there was always a chance for a comeback, and it took a while because even for the late teens and early 20s, they kept going up and down. 19 seemed good, but then they were down to 10 again. So it looked very hard. And then that's when Nyhukim started like shooting off children left and right. You know, maybe they wanted an heir to the throne. Maybe they just loved children. But Tanubin and Famija, the rival siblings, were born. The conservative child who doesn't really like change and when they implement a mutation really isn't a mutation at all. Or the more radical child who says like, you know, if I am going to change from my parent, I want to be as different as possible from them. I want to invent a new type of walking that no one's seen before. Which side is going to win? It didn't even matter because Boly Tip was in the background scheming, going from 10 to 12, 14, 22, 31, 48, 65, 80, 111, 114, and now the largest population of the group, 145. This is a crazy success story in evolution if I've ever seen one. And the way they improved is like, so pay attention to phase 2 and look at the shape of the right edge during phase 2. So for the ancestor or the first Boly Tip, here 3, 1, here 3. It's like the bottom of the right edge is no further forward than the top of the right edge, if that makes sense. But now look at the apex Boly Tip, the most recent one. When it goes to phase 2 here, the bottom of the right edge is way further forward than the top of the right edge. So that's that pink cell pushing its right foot forward more, boosting the performance from a measly 14 at the beginning to a powerful 27. And it was all tiny mutations, no giant one, that they were really cooking during these like late teens and early 20s. And they were like, it's gonna pay off. And it finally did. And if we look at the grid of creatures, it obviously isn't a washout yet because Boly Tips only make up about 30% of the population. And all of Famija, Tanubin, and Nyhukim look the same, so they still look like they're in the minority. But there's large clusters of them, like this whole row. So they actually have power in numbers for once. They can form these clusters that really pack a punch. Okay, yes, Boly Tip did earn their crown, they got their esteemed double ring, but can they expand their lead to bigger than just 145 over 96? Let's find out by doing a generation. 172, it's slow and steady growth. Nyhukim is 83, which is still 2nd place, but 3rd and 4th place, Famija and Tanubin are within striking distance of overtaking it. Wibbit is at 31, I've never heard of that species before. Wibbit is also heart-shaped, so it's also a descendant of Nyhukim. So as of right now, Boly Tip does not have any substantial children. No one who's able to pack as powerful a punch as Boly Tip themselves, but that's because they haven't had much time, you know, in the spotlight. And Wibbit is here. Descendant from, wait, what? Wibbit is a descendant of Sojive, or Sojive, but I don't know what Sojive is. Wait, what is a Sojive? There we go, Sojive. Okay, Sojive, S. Sojive is descendant from Nyhukim, and then it is basically it's extinct now. So that means Wibid is an orphan species because it's still alive and doing well, but its parent species, Sojive, is fully extinct at this point. That's a pretty sad place to be, but you know, given that it's still pulling 31, it's not bad. So let's do another generation. Can Boly Tip hit the 200 threshold? No, it can't. Actually, did it even grow at all? It grew by 2. That's like nothing. In other news, Nyhukim is now the 4th biggest population. That's crazy. Not only that, look at that heat map. It's very bottom heavy. Not looking good, as Tanubin is also bottom heavy. Famija is top heavy. They may grow. So between the two children, the radical one may win. Okay, let's do a generation. Famija and Wibid seem to be the latest craze of growth. Although, oh, there it is. Okay, so Boly Tip is at 192, still growing strong, still has the top spot, so I'm not feeling too nervous about them losing it. But look at this. Wibid has entered the chart. You know, it reached 50, so that means it's on the genealogy chart. So Gaive never reached 50 themselves, but there is a rule in the code that if you are considered substantial, all of your ancestors up the chain are also considered substantial so that the chart can look complete. Also, if you're curious what Wibid's big mutation was, well, it's the 3rd cell of the bottom row. You can see that for ancestor Sojive, that cell is very transparent and it's like a dark purplish color. But then for Wibid, that cell got like 50% wider. And that, you know, obviously pushes the right foot forward more. But the performance was a huge jump from 21 to 24, and now it's up to 27. So like Sojive, you know, was basically like, I don't know what mutation to do. And Wibid was like, I'm going to take it from here. I know what mutation to do. But yeah, Boly Tip is at 193. They have the top spot, but will they ever get the majority, which is 250? That might be a little too powerful because, yeah, Wibid is like really packing a punch at the top now. Okay, wow, look at that. Nyhukim and Tanubin, the 2 top dogs of just like 15 generations ago, have both lost their labels. They plunged below 25 people. Nyhukim just has 21. They're all basically in the bottom half. I never thought I'd say those words. Tanubin is down to 20, even less, and they're even more in the bottom half. Clearly, the kings of yesteryear don't know how to fare in this modern era. Boly Tip hits 200, that's cool, and Famija still growing at 122, Wibid still growing at 73. It seems like the real losers right now are Nyhukim and Tanubin, who are down to 6 and 10. I guess they just really stopped innovating. They just got really comfortable. The mutations they happened to select in that range just didn't help it very much, and they're out, basically. Ooh, the best creature is a Kemisu, and it's definitely a derivative of the Nyhukim tribe because, you know, it starts out being very heart-shaped. But their mutation was in the upper right corner, so it's kind of like inconsequential. But they're a descendant of Wibid, so they are a great-grandchild of Nyhukim. Also, Boly Tip's population is decreasing, 215 to 204, so maybe they're losing their edge. The lavender is actually getting killed off more than they're reproducing, so Kemisu might be the newest one. Or Kemiku, I guess that's Kemiku. Wait, oh, Nyhukim is also extinct. They went from 10, oh wow, even with 10 species, not a single one survived. They're all gone now. Tanubin down to just 4, but they may be extinct in next generation. Yeah, that's just crazy. I would like Boly Tip to produce 1 child though, please. Okay, Boly Tip increased again slowly. So 215, 204, 210, it's kind of holding steady. They have all the top 3 spots this time, so Kemiku did not hold on to its top spot for very long. Although Kemiku has like the rank number 4, rank number 8, 11th, and 13th, so they're still placing very, very strong. Wibid doesn't really have many players in the top row anymore, so I think Wibid's momentum is gone. But yeah, let's see what happens in Generation 41. Ooh, Boly Tip is like continuing to like always gain a couple, lose a couple. They're just really not moving in either direction. They have all of the top 5 spots though. But really who's winning are all these new species in the upper right. I'm actually kind of impressed that they make up about 20% of the population, but none of them have earned a label. Because we have 3 big guys, but they won't be the biggest forever. Oh, Xylasai is now at 25. And who is Xylasai? Oh wait, Xylasai is a child of Boly Tip. What was Xylasai's mutation? Oh, it's the cell in the upper... I don't know why that cell in the upper right is always mutating so much, but I can see it just being made wider. Wibid and Famija are both at 70. Like, they really are, like, equal in population for quite a while. Like, Wibid and Famija are not siblings. They're nephew and uncle, or I guess niece and aunt, if you would like to call it that. In terms of the political pull they have right now, they're basically equals. But I'm shocked there's no new species. Like, look at the dark green. Who is that? Dark green is... Oh, Kemiku. Like I said, Kemiku is one of... Kemiku was the one who had the top spot a few generations ago. Kemiku was here. And they are spreading, in fact, but it's still not 25 of them. So will Kemiku show up in generation 44 on the chart? Almost certainly. They have 26 people now, and Boly Tip is growing again, 225, record highest. We are at the peak of Boly Tip performance, and they have all the top 8 ranks. But Kemiku is trying to be the latest representative of the Nyhukim line, and Xylasai is trying to be the modern descendant of the Boly Tip line. Are either of them going to hit 50? They're at 26 right now, and neither of them are that extremely top-heavy. Maybe Boly Tip will get a majority? Not yet, 249, which means it's 249 Boly Tips and 251 everyone else. So it's really, really close, just a single creature difference. I'm gonna do a generation, let's see what happens. Boly Tip just can't get that majority. It's 249, 248. They need 250 to get that majority, but maybe it's just too little too late. It's still 246, but Famija's back in the triple digits. Famija's not giving up. I really thought their days were numbered for a while. So Famija peaked at 122 in generation 38, and then they started to slip. They slipped below 100. They slipped to 74, but now they're growing again, 107, and Wibbid's down to 26. They're going to lose their label. That looks really dangerous, Wibbid. You're basically out of it. And Kemiku is like within striking distance of a spot on the table. Wibbid, can you hold on by the next generation? You're out! Wibbid is down to just 12. Every single specimen of Wibbid has an inverted upper right cell. Famija continues to grow, 113, and also Boly Tip scores its first pure majority. It's 251 Boly Tips, and you can see that by like, there's more purple in this visual than any other color. Okay, what's gonna happen next? Kemiku, can you get your spot on the chart? They do! Oh my god, Kemiku is on the chart! This like green lineage. What's interesting is like, I don't think any of the greens were ever like prominent at the same time, because here, Sojai was like, you know, never got above 15, so like they were like an underground species. And then Wibbid showed up after Sojai was like already extinct. And then Wibbid started to dwindle and dwindle and dwindle, and then Kemiku took over. And as a reminder, Boly Tip still hasn't produced a single significant heir. You know, they've been dominant for quite a while. You know, they took over power in 33, and now it is 49. So they've had 16 generations to produce some powerful child, but the biggest one, Xylasai, only has 8 creatures. Although one of them is in third, is that right? Yeah, Xylasai in third. So, you know, Xylasai's not, you know, shouldn't be ignored yet. They could come back. Boly Tip is at 284. Okay, now I feel like you're celebrating a bit too hard. You know, when you were the underdog and you barely had a chance, I was rooting for you, but now you're like a little too gloating. You're too arrogant. Xylasai at 12. So remember they're at 4, 8, 12. That's still pretty good growth. But yeah, Xylasai's peak was at 26 in generation 44, and now we're at 53. So I guess they're trying like the slow burn strategy. Famija and Kemiku are still the representatives of the Nyhukim line. Summed together, they're only 130, barely half of Boly Tip. So Nyhukim's era may be over, unless they can come up with another radical mutation stat. Xylasai got their label back. They're up to 26 now, and well, they're not as top heavy as they used to be, but that's still pretty cool. Can they get up to 50 though? Famija down to 57 and very bottom heavy. 327, it's slipping. There's another green stripe here that is like, what is this new green guy? Muvapa? There's too many greens. I'm gonna actually do something that like I rarely do, which is change the color of a species. So if I press C, it should change the color of the species I'm highlighting to a random new color. And Muvapa is basically just Boly Tip because the mutation is like in the middle of the creature, so it barely does anything. But let's press C to get a new color. Okay, there we go, blue. Okay, Muvapa is gonna be blue. Oh, that's kind of close to Kemiku. I'll try one more time. Actually, no, I won't. Muvapa is blue, and they have 23, so they're almost on the charts. And they could be Boly Tip's next child if Xylasai doesn't continue to grow. Yeah, Muvapa's 39. Oh, wait, that's crazy growth. Like, 23 to 39. How did that happen? And also, what was the mutation? Yeah, the mutation was internal. A very minor adjustment to the second cell on the third row. So, I don't... Oh, wait. Okay, so look at the Ancestor Boly Tip and the Apex Muvapa. Notice on the second phase, it went from like a transparent, like a very transparent like teal color to almost like a transparent white. That means it's much larger than it used to be. So I guess it's more about friction again, like you're pushing into the ground by being larger. So maybe it's another thing like that. But yeah, like it seems like a lot of creatures are really pushing for more and more white cells on the left side of the body. That seems to be a strat. Ooh, what's happening? Oh yeah, Chemiku. Oh my god, Chemiku. Ooh, that's weird. So there's a chance with Chemikus that their left and right sides bundle up. Like it's imagining like your 2 feet end up in the same location. You just can't do much because this is what Chemiku is supposed to look like if everything is going well. You know, on the second phase, it's really wide here. But when you're failing as a Chemiku, wide, narrow, narrow, wide, narrow, narrow, wide, not so wide, and now my feet are on top of each other, and like a whole column has been inverted. So Chemiku is a big gambler in that way. Literally everyone decreased in population. Boly Tip lost 4. Xyloside lost 1, Chemiku lost 4, and Muvapa lost 3. All these new species are coming onto the scene. Maybe there can be a comeback. I mean, it's a very small decrease, so like it could just be random chance. Muvapa at 48, that's a comeback. Boly Tip's children are like just on the edge of 50. It's so close, and Chemiku is still holding on with 42, but look at that, it's so bottom heavy that it's like the odds of Chemiku growing from this point are going to be extremely rare unless they can pull out a crazy miraculous mutation that just like helps it a ton. Muvapa hit 52, which means Boly Tip, you have a child. You're on the chart. But Muvapa's heat map is very center heavy. There's not much force in the top, so that's not good. Oh, what just happened? Boly Tip added 40. Chemiku's out. Chemiku's down to 18. So Chemiku, 35 to 18, that's halving of a population. That's brutal. That rarely happens. Famija's at 20. Famija outnumbers Chemiku. So now Famija is that tribe's best bet at surviving. Famija's back on the charts, 27. I can never predict what's going to happen. Famija's back at 27. Chemiku's at 2. Chemiku's basically dead. Xylosai at 18, decreasing. But Boly Tip at 384. That was more than Noxixo ever had. Noxixo's peak was 377, and I was tired of that already. Famija, if you come back, you're crazy. Xylosai, if you come back, you're crazy. If Chemiku, you're not going to come back. Chemiku, this is the last time you'll have a white outline, I think. Generation 68 is coming, and it's going to cut you off. Yeah, you're gone. Boly Tip is the first species to hit 400. This is ridiculous. 80% of the population is one species. This is horrible for like biodiversity. Boly Tip at 401. Can we turn that around? Every label's gone except for Boly Tip. This is ridiculous. Muvapa even lost it to 213. Boly Tip is like cannibalizing their own child right now. Muvapa's down to 8. They're out. I think the sea green. Who is the sea green species? They're the next one to matter. Tanubin, right? Tanubin. What was even their mutation though? Oh, Tanubin is a grandchild of Boly Tip. That I did not expect that. I thought since Boly Tip had such a larger population than Muvapa, like you know, more time on the chart, everyone was a descendant of Boly Tip. But Tanubin is like a double descendant. Oh, look at Tanubin's mutation. It's the lower left foot getting larger and thicker. Like, oh no, it's more transparent. Look at the ancestor Muvapa and look at the apex Tanubin when they are really pushing their left foot into the ground. For ancestor Muvapa, it's very transparent. There's not a lot of strength to it. For Tanubin, it's like hardening. It's turning into bone. So, you know, it's up from 32 to 37. Tanubin has like really good strength at the top. They may be the Boly Tip killer. And Famija is down to 10. I think this is the end. Like the Noxixo lineage is like really on its last legs. Tanubin, 47. There was just a increase to the top performance. It was in the 37s for a while. Boly Tip just got a 38 with this. I don't know what the mutation was, but that threatens Tanubin, even though I thought Tanubin was like the next darling, the next kid to take over the entire population. Here's Famija heart number 1. Here's Famija heart number 2. They're the only hearts left in a sea of pillows, and by next generation they'll probably all be gone. But there was a time when hearts dominated. Okay, they're dead? But what's this? Okay, Tanubin is a descendant of Muvapa. They hit 60 people, which I expected, but my code is weird in that it sometimes has lines crossed like this. Like, we could just have Tanubin on the other side of Wibid. I think they get added in chronological order though. So if you think about, wait, actually that doesn't make sense. I don't know why they cross, but you can still understand what's happening. Tanubin is a grandchild of Boly Tip. Muvapa's dead, so Tanubin is already an orphan, and they have a population of 60 compared to Boly Tip's 400 or 384. It is falling. I do think Tanubin will take over, even though Boly Tip still has the top spot, right? Yeah, Boly Tip still has the top 6 spots. Oh, well, Tanubin's losing ground, and Boly Tip's rising again. How are they rising again? I do think this is quite early to reach an era where one species dominates forever. So I do think if not Tanubin, some other offshoot will overtake Boly Tip. There's a lot of new species accounting for about 100 creatures, and one of them will grow and grow and grow. I'm just gonna keep doing generations and hope that Boly Tip starts to lose ground.
A few
generations
later.
481, that's 96% of the population. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I was having hope right here that something different would change. There's only 19 creatures that are not Boly Tip. There's like some Tanubins, there's some Puna types, some Wamobers. What's this? Nateha. And they're also near the bottom half, so it's probably gonna grow even more by the next generation. Oh, huge breakthrough. Oh my god, wait, pause. Okay, look at this. So if you look at the top line, that usually tells you who are the risky pioneers, innovators who are trying something new even if it's risky. It's always been Boly Tip at the top for like since forever. See, it's just stayed purple forever. Sometimes it was Tanubin, which made me think Tanubin would take over. It didn't happen. But this by far is the biggest jump upward that we've seen since the beginning, right? Like it's just like steady growth. And then what's this? So it's Boly Tip on top. Who did that? It's Vroi. Oh, look at that mutation. That is going to be so helpful. Vroi has to be the next big species because yeah, it just made the second cell wider. And then it's again, the left foot and the right foot should be big, but the second and third cell should be really wide. So of course that pushed it forward another 4 centimeters. That's like a 10% boost, which is huge in this world. And then the next mutation boosted Vroi even further to 51. If we show the creatures, Vroi has this kind of burnt orange color, and they have the top 2 spots by a huge margin. Third place is Boly Tip with only 46. To have a gap of 49 and 51, like there's just no way Boly Tip can survive this. I think this is the beginning of the end of Boly Tip. I can't believe I'm saying that with 4 to 56 being Boly Tip, but I think, this is just too powerful for us. It's going to take over. So if we do a generation, will they have all the top 4, or maybe one of them could have a bad mutation? They have top 3, 1, 2, 3, all clustered at 40, and then it's Boly Tip, and then the other one is way down here. So Vroi, the 4th Vroi, pushed a little too hard, and the same thing happened in inversion, and then whenever you have some cell inversion, it's over. So Vroi is taking a big risk with these mutations, but as long as they can keep pushing their population up, with right now it's 3 at the top, we're okay. Yeah, Boly Tip's population is decreasing. Now they have top 4. You would expect 1, 2, 4, 8, 16 explosive exponential growth, but because this is such a risky, wide stance, you're losing a lot of creatures to like subpar performance. Like this one is ranked 85th, which is not great, but like the numbers are still increasing, even if not like exponentially. But like, do you see this gap here? That whenever you see a gap between percentile lines, it's a room for opportunity, and other lines will start to move up, delayed from the first one, but like at the same speed. So the speed to which that we jump from 44 to 51, the next percentile lines will also jump up by that fast, but it'll just there'll be a delay before they move up. But yeah, you can start to see the second or the first, you can start to see the 99th percentile line ever so slightly rising. 99th percentile corresponds to after the top 5, and that's because the 5th ranked person is now Vroi. So for the next generation, that'll probably be up to the top as well. So notice the 2nd percentile line, or 99th percentile line, is up there now. But Vroi, I think, is going to really impress people. Like, there's just a fire in its soul. So they like Vroi went 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 16. Literally everyone from this generation survived into this generation because it's up to 16. There we go, 34. So Vroi overtook Majire, which is what I was expecting. Majire is doing very steady, slow growth, like 30, 36, 31, 30. It's like not much is happening. Vroi is like already up to 34, and remember, it was just born in generation 131, and it's only generation 139. It's only been like less than a decade. Vroi is on the genealogy chart, and it is a sibling of Muvapa. Still only 2nd generation, but I think they have a really solid future. And you can see in the heat map that they really aligned the top, and they kind of lined the bottom as well because of the high risk. So look at that just dominance at the top. They have ranks 1st to 19th. The best performing Boly Tip is ranked 20th, which is crazy to say because back here they had all of the top 50. Vroi is going to be at like 80 next time, and then 100 the next time after that. 85, Boly Tip at 363. But I feel like I have seen this happen before. I saw Tanubin try to fight for it, and then droop, it just didn't work. Like, I really hope this momentum can continue. But I feel like because I can explain the mutation quite well, it just has to continue. Who's this? Nyhukim, and the mutation is internal, so it's going to be a smaller one. But Nyhukim is a descendant of Vyroki. So already Vyroki has a child. That is like really fast to go from like birthed into this world and have a child of your own. This is just 10 generations. Nyhukim is up to 4, which is like perfect growth. Nyhukim and Vyroki could be partners in crime, like a father-son duo or a mother-daughter duo. And they could be the ones to finally take down Boly Tip after all these years. But isn't this interesting? If you look at the heat map, Boly Tip clearly takes the middle band, whereas Vyroki is very clearly taking the top band and a lot of the bottom. It's high risk, high reward, and Nyhukim is already starting to show the same traits as its father. 203 to 256. It is really close now. There's only 6 more until Boly Tip loses its majority, although it almost lost it right here, I think. But yeah, now it's even lower, and Vyroki has just such strong momentum. Okay, will it transfer hands by generation 146? It happened! Boly Tip is done! Vyroki has taken the top spot. You know, I was so proud of them when they were the underdog and they got it back in generation 33. Over 100 generations of Boly Tip at the top. And Vyroki, born in generation 131, very recent, this point in time, they already have the plurality. They already have the top spot. Still, they dominate the top and bottom, but they're fleshing out the middle area, which means that like they're destined for domination. Nyhukim still doing the same thing, but it's like not as explosive because Nyhukim and Vyroki are very similar in skill set. Boly Tip, I think, you know, you can linger around for a little longer, but your days are numbered. Yeah, the best creature is still a Vyroki, fitness 51. It's been like that for a while. Like, if you look at the best, like the top of this line, like the top of the graph, it's very flat, which means this mutation that boosted up in generation 132 is still the best specimen we've ever seen, the best walk cycle we've ever seen. And it is kind of like doing the stride thing, which I'm very happy about. Okay, now Vyroki's outnumbered Boly Tip's 3 to 1. If we look at this chart, like there's way more burnt orange circles than pinks, although they look very similar because the phase in which they look different, phase 2, is not the phase that these icons are taken from. The icons are from phase 1, but phase 2 is where they do look different. Yeah, Vyrokis are just everywhere. See, 6 out of 8 of this sample are Vyrokian. And yeah, they go about 50 centimeters now. Like, that is the new norm. Let's do another generation. I do think Nyhukim has the top heaviness to keep growing, but it's proving to be a struggle. I do like the color combo of the pink and the burnt orange. Okay, Nyhukim is at 45. That's really good. Vyroki did hit 305, and the middle part is getting fleshed out so strongly that, like, Boly Tip is even starting to lose the middle band because Vyroki is invading everything now. Oh, also, another way to see that Vyroki is the more risk-taking species is by looking at the percentile lines. Do you see how clustered they were when there was no genetic diversity during the Boly Tip era of, like, the 120s and 130s? All the percentiles clustered around like 45. Like there's very little variation. And as soon as Vyroki took over, it splays out. Like the best become better, but the worst become worse. There we go, Nyhukim is on the chart, and yeah, the lines crossed again. Nyhukim has 60, almost outnumbering Boly Tip. They will probably start having children and like descendants of their own at this point. 328 for Vyroki. Now Nyhukim has overtaken Boly Tip in population. Boly Tip is the 3rd largest species of the simulation, which is like a far cry of what they were even just 10 generations ago. 38 for Boly Tip. Nyhukim up to 80. Boly Tip, Vyroki lost people. 344 to 342. Nyhukim now has the edge. They are a little bit more top heavy. Like Vyroki just is everywhere, and Nyhukim is a little bit more dense at the top. So, you know, maybe pink will overtake burnt orange. Oh yeah, it's happening. Oh wow. Okay, so in one generation, Boly Tip lost its label because it's down to 22 specimen under the 25 threshold, but Nyhukim is like continuing to push forward, and that means like Vyroki is already like maybe the old one on the way out, which is like, given how long this era was, I didn't think that like the next era would be so short. Oh, it is like, it's undeniably growing. Like this isn't just random chance. Now that Nyhukim is taking over, it actually doesn't have a high concentration on the bottom, so maybe Nyhukim is the stabilizer. The person who took Vyroki's blueprint and perfected it, polished it, made sure it wasn't so prone to error. Yeah, I don't really know how it's more stable, but it just is, so you just have to trust me. Okay, so yeah, the growth stopped. I don't know why it's stalling, but I think it'll still happen eventually. Boly Tip is still around, if you can believe that. Went from 20 to 6. They could be extinct next generation, and that is significant because it'll be the first time ever that the whole gene pool has no primordial species. Like none of the species we saw at the beginning are still around. Will any of you be around by generation 161? You're still there. There's still 4 of you. Okay, but Nyhukim is at 203, a record high. Notice they don't have the top spots because Vroi, the risk taker, still takes all of the top 4 and all of the bottom 10 spots. Over half of all creatures walk at least 50 centimeters. The median's 50.09, which means that even people ranked in the bottom half, like this Vroi ranked 259th, is still going 50.01 centimeters. Are we actually entering an era where they stably fall into a 50-50 split? Like, that actually might be happening. I've never seen it this close to 50-50 before and holding steady, like without any movement in either direction. Like, that actually seems to be happening. See, Vroi is taking over like territory again, slowly growing. But there we go. Nyhukim gains another 12. Like, I really feel like there isn't strong momentum in either direction. Oh, Boly Tip did go extinct, by the way. So generation 163 was the last time they were ever seen, and then by 164 they were extinct. And now we live in a 2-party system that seem to like not fight with each other. Like, they seem to really respect each other's turf. Actually, Nyhukim has the top 2 spots and the bottom 3 spots. So I guess at this point, it's not like one is risky and the other one's not risky. They're both kind of the same. Will they get the top spot ever? Like, they're so close. They're within striking range.